If you're hearing this on an Android device and you haven't checked out the Podcast Republic app, I'm guessing it's your first time listening to this podcast. And if so, welcome. This is Dissecting the 80s. We are so glad to have you. If you are not in that situation, go check out the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. There's thousands of good reviews telling you how wonderful it is, so you don't have to take my word for it. That's the Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. If you like this show and you want more of it, there's an easy way to get it. It's at patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. If you sign up now at the $5 tier and become a member there, you get 13 plus hours of bonus content instantly. And then we do a bonus episode every 3 months. So we got one coming up just around the corner in March. And we do all sorts of fun little things and oddities for you, like our annual Christmas Mintary that has nothing to do with Christmas.
Newly minted annual Christmas
Newly
Mintary.
minted. So go visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s today.
I was like, I would do the $5 tier if it included X. That's how we got stickers, y'all. Because you spoke.
Yes. So we would love to hear from you. If there's something that you really want, reach out and we'll see if we can make that work. That's patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Tripp Leno, one half of the Mega Podcasting Powers. And with me, as always, is a one-time Mr. Mushnick, the Macho Mandrew.
Andrew Leno. Once upon a time. Let's see. So if I'm 28, that was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
That is gross to think about. How dare you?
We are jumping into a new February tradition here on the podcast. February served us really well for a long time. We love it. We have great fond memories of it, but it's time had come and we have a new tradition now, which is the very sweatily named by me on Purposely Bad Favorites-bruary.
Hopefully this will go over better than New Coke. Call back to
Andrew's birthday comes first in February, so he picked Little Shop of Horrors. And I guess you should, well, you know what? Let's do this first. We watched Little Shop of Horrors because it's Andrew's favorite, so you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your immaculate puppet work. Something's gotta be about your immaculate puppet work.
When the mega powers explode.
I'm talking about the 80s. Oh, yeah.
Great Scott!
Cream of the crop. Oh, yeah.
Mega powers, yeah!
When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
So I was going to ask the question before we did the intro there. Do you remember the first time you saw this movie?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I always talk about how this was my growing up movie and growing up musical. Like for a lot of people, it was Grease.
Sure.
That was just not a thing. I didn't see Grease until I was in high school, I want to say, or like 8th grade.
I'm not certain I've like sat down for a Grease viewing A to Z.
I'll be honest,
not certain.
It is longer than it should be, and the messaging isn't super great, and the songs are fine. Like, you have a handful of good songs in there, and then everyone forgets that there's like a lot more songs in Grease than you remember, and they're not all winners.
Yeah.
They're not all Summer Nights. Let's put it that way. But at our grandmother's house in Delaware, she had 4 VHS tapes. She had Cats, the Broadway musical, and I was like, no, get out of here. I watched it once, and I was like, this is not for me. I think I turned it off. She had, I think it was like Muppet.
Which honestly, all of us are very lucky that's how that went down.
Yes.
Like in another world, I'm having a sliding doors moment here of, if you were born just 40 seconds earlier, or, some minor
wings.
brain chemical change. Yeah. That instead of it being this, which is infinitely more tolerable than Cats, it would have been Cats.
Could have been. So I've actually, Cats is a fun, like that original Broadway production recording, or I don't know if it's original. It's a fun drinking thing, because if you're put it on in the background of a party, because there's no plot, so you can kind of tune in and out and be like, whoa, what's happening? Eat a brownie, wink, and enjoy yourself. So I
watched the new one with a commentary track from another podcast that I like.
Oh,
and I was stunned at how I just like I got halfway through and I was like, I can't, even with the jokes, I can't take this anymore. So I just finished the commentary without the movie at another time.
Frankly, I imagine the new one is also best enjoyed with a brownie or a cocktail, based on everything I've seen about it. So
yeah, I mean, I think your whatever altering substance of choice you prefer is the way to go there. But it was just. I was like going into it going, oh, I'm going to have a drink and watch this. And it was just like, oh, this is brutal.
Well, because my mini soapbox here, what's really great about the original production of Cats for the people who enjoy it, I am not one of those people, clearly, is that like the costumes and makeup and set were all amazing and it was cool and it was different. And so to be like, you know what we're going to do? None of that. And it was like, okay, like, how are you gonna like apparently the camera work is not great, so you can't really see all the dancing, which is just common of movie musicals now. And I'm like, pull into a wide and hold it there for 3 goddamn minutes.
Yeah,
looking at you, Mamma Mia.
Hamilton is super close uppy too, which doesn't have a lot of dancing, so it
Hamilton was a filmed stage production.
Yeah. I had the same thing there where I was like, a lot of times you're in this real tight close up of somebody singing, but you kind of want to see everything that's happening at once.
Yeah. I don't understand what they were thinking when they were like, let's not do any of we're only going to keep the dancing and the song memory, and that's it. Bad choice. Anyways, so Nan had Cats original. She had, I want to say it was like Muppets Fairy Tale Theater, Emperor's New Clothes, where Fozzie was the emperor.
Okay.
And then she had Mary Martin's Peter Pan, and I was like, why is this old lady saying she's Peter Pan? I don't get it.
Right.
And Little Shop. And of the 4, I was like, this is the only one where Muppets are fine, but like this is a whole, new.
That's not exactly peak Muppet material.
No, it's not. It was also because it wasn't even like a full length thing. It was like 2 fairy tale things with the Kokomo music video stuck in the middle. Is that the song? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay. So I grew up with this musical for as long as I can remember because we visited Nan. She lived in that house forever until she moved, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that was just sort of my thing. And then in high school, when I was in 8th grade, they were like, we're doing Little Shop of Horrors. And I was like, oh, great. I want to do that. And if I'm a freshman, I have to bust my ass in order to get anything. And I got Mr. Mushnick. Because if you were
in 9th grade for that? I thought you were older than that.
That was my first year. If you are competently funny in high school, you will play older characters, which is what I did for 4 years.
Right. It's hard to be a character actor at 13,
14, whatever.
Yeah. It's a tough slot to fill. So obviously you've loved this forever. I have to tell you, I was feeling a little trepidatious heading into this.
When's the last time you saw it?
Probably when you were in it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's no way I would have put this movie on.
I mean, but like even from a film nerd perspective of like,
so
because that's the thing. If this is even if like you don't like musicals, if you are a film nerd, you should watch this movie because it is just a laundry list of film excellence and like how to do things correctly.
There's a lot that I like in this movie, and I'm not going to fight you hard on that, but I was thinking about this today while I was taking a walk because I knew we were going to talk about it, and I was trying to figure out like what it was because I can't quite put my finger on the answer to this, but it's just a movie I never have any desire to watch. And it's not because I don't like it. It's not because I think it's bad. It's like it checks a bunch of boxes for me, but it's just something, even having watched it this time and been like, wow, I really enjoyed that, I will probably never watch it again.
I wonder I wonder if watching the theatrical release would change your mind at all. Because it is more of an upbeat.
It has nothing to do with the ending. It's just like the whole, like, I'm not a person, I used to be somebody who was really against the musical as a form. And now I don't feel that way. I just don't seek them out. So I just think that's it. Like, I don't think musicals are a scourge or something. I don't have a vendetta against them, but I also have just they just do very little for me, and so I just don't really.
Unless it's Singing in the Rain, the musical about the invention of musicals.
But I should caveat that as like we always make that joke, and it's true. I do think that movie is great. I haven't watched Singing in the Rain since I watched it. Yeah, I watched it in college for a film class and was stunned by how much I enjoyed it. But I have only ever seen it that one time when I was 20 in a film class. So it's been 14 years, and I haven't gone back to watch it again. Oh, okay. So like maybe I don't like it, you know, but I fondly recall it, and it's on.
But it's probably something you will seek out,
right? So I think there's like that element to it of, and I think I have been pondering this. I think what it comes down to for me is the style of music I like would be bad in musicals, or the thing in musicals that I don't like the most is the style closest to the music I actually enjoy listening to. Like I listen to the Ava Brothers, like folky rock music. It would probably be their upbeat stuff is not like this, but their more ballady songs are like Suddenly Seymour, which is the song where I'm like, I'm going to fill my glass of water.
Suddenly Seymour is that song for you?
Anytime we get down tempo, I'm like totally checked out of the movie musical.
Suddenly Seymour is like one of the best songs.
It's good, but I'm just like anytime we're in Sad Town, I'm just like I got no business.
That's not Sad Town. That's Romantic Town.
No, the song sounds inherently sad. The tone, the musicality. I actually
disagree.
This is we're getting.
It's got. I think
we're getting into. Go ahead.
I think it has a like pulsing drive to it that it sounds like uplifting and like hopeful.
So I recently was having this discussion with my girlfriend about a completely different thing, just music in general. But I was playing a song that I really liked, and she was like, and I have this very odd thing where I engage with music not on a lyrical level, but on a music level. And like when a song hits for me, it's going to be melody based. It's going to be that. And there are times when I will know all of the words to a song, but never sort of cognitively engaged with what the song is saying. And she pointed out, and I had forgotten that this happened, but you know, I like to make, you know, mix whatever we called it a mix CD when I was a youth. Now it's just a playlist, but I like to do that. Like I like to find new music, and you know, we had started dating, and I was like, we were sharing music, and I made her a playlist, and it was just stuff that I had been into that I thought she would also like. And a lot of it is like, oh, maybe I'd like to go see this band when they come into town. Let me see if you like them too, sort of thing. But she was like, did you listen to this song? And it was like equivalent to CeeLo's Fuck You, of just this like, you're a piece of shit and I hate you. And I was like, yeah, it rules. And she's like, it's like pretty weirdly aggressive about the woman that it's about. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess it is. And it just never, it was like, the melody is great. I like the rhythm of it, and I like the musicality, and I like the way that the person sings. But so Suddenly Seymour as a lyrical song is a love song, no, but the music
I think
is
the music
like,
has a sweeping like grandness to it. Like it sounds
it's like mopey grandness.
I don't get mopey.
It's not like, do you hear the people sing, with like a big rising.
Do you hear the people sing as a dirge?
No, when they do the reprise and it's like everybody's singing the song and it's like the power of all those vocals combining together. It's like this goosebumpy, huge power moment. Suddenly Seymour is more like, ba-da-da-da-da. And it's like a slow, mellow, melodical moment. And like, it's like anytime we get there,
I'm like, such a triumphance out of that song. Melodically.
Yeah, well, it's fine. All that to say, I think that being someone who doesn't engage with music based on lyrics is why musicals don't land for me.
Probably
because I don't have the cognitive wherewithal to sort of go from dialogue to singing, and the singing is important for advancing the plot, and I need to be paying attention to what they're saying and how they're saying it, and it doesn't just land for me. And I think that's her bringing that up about the song and us having a laugh about it. I was like, you know, I think that is sort of, I don't have the perfect answer, but I think that's probably where
it sounds like it.
That happens for me, where that disconnect is like, I just don't engage with music that way. And the point of a musical is that they sing about, you know, the plot or their feelings or their emotions or what have you. Yeah. Different musicals use songs in different ways. I'm not trying to blanket anything, but you need to be able to engage with the lyrics in a way that I just don't know that I'm built for.
Huh. That's never come up before. That's fascinating.
I just had this epiphany today, so sometimes I put myself on the therapist couch on the weirdest of topics, and this is one of them.
You know.
Like, let's dig into why you feel this way. And it's not that I don't think that they're good, or I don't think they're good. It's not that I think they're bad. It's just that it doesn't engage with me in the way that it should. All that to say, I do really enjoy this, and spoilers, I will heartily recommend this. I think it's well made, but there's a very good chance I'll just never watch it again. And not because it's bad and I don't like it. It's just like, I'm just never, ever going to be like, oh, you know what I want to do today is watch Little Shop.
I don't know. It's Ashman Menken. It's like one of the first things they did together, if not the first, because I don't think they both worked on Smile together. I think that was Ashman and someone else. I can't remember who. So like, there's just so much like steeped in this, especially like Howard Ashman being the like wizard that he is, this like lyrical wizard that he is.
What I thought was really interesting, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but there's a new documentary about Howard Ashman that's on Disney Plus. I think it's called Howard.
Yeah. And
our parents had watched it and were texting us about it, how much they liked it. And you mentioned that and I probably would have gotten to this in the research, but I was glad to have the, cookies put on the bottom shelf for me, that they were the ones behind Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast.
So what happened was it was Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast, and they had started Aladdin.
Okay.
Ashman passed away due to AIDS-related complications shortly, I think it was like when Beauty and the Beast would hit theaters. So the Oscar stuff was posthumous, and he had started a lot of work on Aladdin.
There was an anecdote that I read that they went and saw him in the hospital, and he was very, very sick at that point. But Beauty and the Beast was finished, and they had shown it to critics, and they were telling him about how the audiences were just loving it, and that the critics were all very fond of it, and they they were basically telling him how much people love this thing he had made on basically his deathbed.
Yeah.
I have like 9 points that
I know. I have a couple points too.
Within arm's reach of this, so I'm trying to figure out which one to grab. The point that I had started to make when I should finish is, so viewing it this time in the context of these are the people behind Little Mermaid and Beauty and the Beast and also Aladdin.
You can hear
was
it.
Really, well, absolutely. Because when Skid Row starts, they have a particular type, and I don't know if this necessarily is theirs, but I certainly would associate it with all of those things. And it was the song sung in a public square where a bunch of random passersby get to do one line in a funny voice that really boosts the song. So I don't know if that's theirs, but it's certainly, if it's not, they didn't invent it, they certainly perfected that particular tool.
They honed that one.
Because Skid Row, which the movie starts with, is exactly that.
It doesn't start with that. It starts with Little Shop.
Oh, it's sort of like it's like sort of drops you in on the title, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But Skid Row is the the closest equivalent would be Belle from Beauty and the Beast, the opening number.
Well, it's that plus it's Aladdin in the
one
square.
jump ahead.
It's I blame parents except he hasn't got them. Like all that stuff is very Skid Row-y. And Little Mermaid doesn't have the town square scene, but it has, Under the Sea.
Well, it also has Part of Your World, which is somewhere that's green.
Yes, no, it definitely.
They literally called it somewhere that's wet. Is what they called it while they were writing when they were writing it.
Yeah. No, I mean, whatever. If you write a really good song, there's
I'm not
nothing to stop you from.
Knew it.
Yeah, I do the same shit all the time. But the other, and so that point is one I think we'll come back to, and then we'll talk about Skid Row in a moment. And I do want to talk about that. But the other thing, and this is really for you, because that reference is a large ball field. Yeah, this one is the size. This is the size of my desk. Evil Dead the musical is almost like beat for beat the songs of this stylistically.
Oh yeah,
like
100%.
Every song in this, and I was wondering because
they're not in the same order, but you hit all the beats.
But I was wondering if that maybe is due to they sort of created and again, I'm giving them credit for this, and I don't know if it's true. I couldn't begin to get the answer to this because it's just a world that is not mine. And I was like trying to find the answer, but Little Shop was a huge off-Broadway hit. Like from my understanding, it's huge.
It was it was off, and then it transferred off.
Okay.
So it started like on the fringe of like, I'm 4 people in the park screaming. And then it got to like have notoriety.
So we saw Evil Dead the musical when it was somewhere between 2 offs and 1 off, I would guess.
I think so. Actually, no, I think it was straight up just off. Because it was in the same theater as Naked Boys Singing, which is off Broadway.
Yeah. Okay. We've probably told that story before, but if not, we'll save it for an Evil Dead episode. But what I was thinking is perhaps that's because they sort of created the template for your B-movie style off-Broadway musical, which is a huge subgenre in off-Broadway. I mean, there's the Toxic Avenger musical. There's, dozens and dozens, probably hundreds, frankly.
I definitely think Little Shop was one of the first ones to do it and do it successfully. Like to the point where Little Shop in 1982 was off Broadway, transferred off Broadway, was so wildly successful, got a movie, and then in the year, I think it was 2005 or 2004, I think, maybe 2003, there was a Broadway production, finally on Broadway. And because it was, the Tony nomination committee was like, yeah, this is not counting as an original Broadway production. This is a revival. Because you had so much success off Broadway and you already had a movie made about, like you already had a movie version of your musical. You don't get to come onto Broadway 30 years later and be like, we're an original production.
Scrappy little upstart.
Yeah, they're like, you're not an original production, you're a revival, which I think is maybe the first time that's ever happened.
It certainly seems unprecedented that exact sequence would happen, but even something to be a big hit off Broadway, never make it, and then come back later seems unusual.
Yeah, well, it's also one of 3 movies that make a fun circle of a movie that got turned into a musical that got turned back into a movie musical. It's Hairspray, The Producers, and Little Shop, which is like 2 heavy hitter like. Producers, I think, still holds the record for most Tony nominations with 12. Hairspray ran forever. I don't know if it's still on Broadway. I think it closed. And then it's like,
I'm pretty sure it's closed.
And Little Shop.
Yeah, no, like I said, I have nothing bad to say about this movie, and it's like it's a super enjoyable, and it's a really cool story, and lands right in the wheelhouse for me. The other thing, and this is like way headier of a topic than we normally discuss, and
I'm here. If it's for Little Shop, I'm here for it.
No, it's more abstract than that. But I recently saw a clip, and I don't know how this filtered into my particular bubble, but it was a clip of Fran Lebowitz, who's a writer. She's based in New York, and she's like a culture writer, has been there for a long, long time, sort of a New York character, the same way Scorsese is kind of a New York character, and that they're famous, and
Who was going to direct this movie?
I saw that. That was pretty wild, actually. And then I thought more about it and was like, no, that kind of lands for me. Like, he probably saw it. Like, he's a weirdo.
Oh, yeah. Well, David Geffen was like, Marty was going to direct it for me. And it's like, what?
Yeah. I mean, Scorsese and we've told this anecdote before, but Scorsese and George Romero lived close by each other in New York, and they would rent the same movies.
Oh,
and
that's right.
You had to rent an 8mm film or 16mm film and the projector, and you'd come in and be like, can I rent X? And they'd be like, no, the Romero kid has it. And it's like that same orbit. So, but all that to say is the guy who made Night of the Living Dead and the guy who made Goodfellas had a shared influence. I think both of them happily would have been in a Little Shop audience.
That's true.
Anyway, so this Fran Lebowitz thing, which again is like way too heady for this podcast, and we also are 30 minutes, barreling towards 30 minutes without having touched on the plot of this movie, which we need to rectify.
I can't help it.
She was talking about how the sort of second wave part of the AIDS crisis, obviously so many people died, people who were in the arts, people who were just, regular everyday folks, but from an arts perspective specifically, and not to downplay other people, she was talking about that not only did you lose a generation of creators, but on top of that, you lost a generation of the would-be patrons and the people she was talking about specifically of, all the people who would have been the tastemakers. That's like, I don't make the art, but I have good taste and I, champion things that are good. Yeah. All of those people died. And so the people who kind of rose up to fill were not as qualified. And she actually thinks it's sort of a direct line from the horrible wave of deaths of the AIDS crisis to the general lack of interesting content. Like she wasn't specifically talking about this endless cycle of reboots, regurgitations, etc. I'm putting those words in her mouth using her point that I thought was really interesting, but that was something she talked about. I was like, if those people were alive, and I was like, oh, wait till you hear has had 2 hits on Broadway and what they're bringing out. And like, she's like, they'd be aghast. They'd be like, oh, what a cornball. How is that person doing that? But it was really interesting to me that it's like talking about the broader culture and how the gay community is such a big part of that, and losing it really affected. It was like sort of a ripple effect of not just losing the folks who were going to make this stuff, but also the folks who would have properly appreciated that stuff and got it to shine, which I thought was really, really interesting. And I was thinking about that a lot watching this, because obviously, Howard Ashman died from AIDS. It's impossible not to think about that when you're watching this. So I just thought that was a really interesting. Well, I'd never considered that before. Obviously, I thought about all the creators and the creatives and those people, but it never occurred to me that there was like a second part of that.
Yeah, well, I think it's also that like Howard Ashman, was a gay man, openly gay man, which wasn't really a common thing. Like, you didn't want to talk about it when you were in the 80s. You didn't want to tell anyone you were gay, because they would be like, they won't share drinks with you because they could get AIDS. Right. Like, it was awful. And he was out and proud and doing his thing. And I think what's so interesting about the movie version is that, like, so the musical was wildly successful off Broadway. Now it's getting made into a movie 4 years later, and the AIDS crisis has only gotten worse by 86.
Right.
And so all of those people that appreciated the movie, that appreciated the musical, there's more people who can see it now. And suddenly the Faustian ending that I think is the most appropriate for the story, suddenly that ending doesn't resonate anymore. Suddenly that's not the ending people want to see. That, like, this guy made a mistake. Seymour makes a mistake and signs a deal with the devil, and they want to see, no, you can take it back. You can come back from that. Mm-hmm. Like, that's part of it, I think.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. The other thing that, and we should talk about this at the ending, but whatever, I don't know that Seymour makes the choice.
Not in the movie.
Okay.
We'll get there,
because there's
moments where in the movie where I'm like, they take away some of Seymour's agency.
Well, it's yeah, because he just like takes care of his plant, and so anyway, let's start talking about the plot, and then we can get to these things as they come up. But anyway, that's the longest digression to start an episode ever in the show.
I love the opening. The overture is this grand. It's camp. It's got this amazing narration. The transition out of it for the movie is beautiful. Like, you're looking at this swirling galaxy, and then the narration ends, and you realize you're looking at an oil puddle on a gross New York street. And I love that.
Splash the foot through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also it struck me, Frank Oz is a sneaky candidate for a high number of episodes. This is his, I believe, 4th appearance on the show.
Yeah. He's great.
No, and it's just a guy that you wouldn't necessarily expect to be racking.
He's got his fingers in a lot of pies in the 80s.
Yeah.
Didn't want to do this movie originally.
Oh, interesting. I think he makes perfect sense at it. He's got the right sensibility and the puppet background. Yeah.
He was like, no, I don't. It's because, so we'll get into it more when we eventually do Steel Magnolias. The stage musical is essentially all in the flower shop, and occasionally you'll step like in front of it and you have the street in front, and then sometimes they'll close the curtain for the dentist shop, and like, that's it. There's no like locations.
Sure. Well, they probably spent a lot of money on the puppet, and so it's like, we got to cut the corners somewhere.
Well, no, I just mean but it's just sort of practical. You're off Broadway. There's no guarantee you're going to run.
Right. And the theater's small.
Yeah. So it makes sense to do it that way. So he was like, it's all in one space. I don't want to do that. And then he was like, he like went and saw it again and was like, you know what? I think we can figure this out. And he basically like watched the show 100 times, wrote out basically a treatment that was like, here's how we can shuffle and arrange things, showed it to Ashman and Menken, and they were like, we love this. Let's do it that way.
Okay, cool. I didn't realize he was that hands-on, but that's neat. He like developed it more than just directed.
Yeah, because there are a lot of differences. Some I think are, give or like take him or leave him, and some I'm like, I disagree with that choice. I think the opening song is such a great pump 'em up number, and it's 3 people.
Yeah, who have delightful names that it didn't dawn on me.
Crystal, Renette, and Chiffon?
But those are all, if you put the in front of that, those are all those girl groups. Well, it's like, that's a nice, funny joke for the Broadway audience, or not the Broadway audience, I guess, because they're all Motown singers. But that's funny, and it never occurred to me.
It's the first hint that like this is a movie in the This is making fun of the 60s. This is the 60s.
Right.
This is camp. This is a B movie, but on a $30 million budget. Like
right.
Yeah, Tashina Arnold, Tisha Campbell, and Michelle Weeks are the 3 girls, Crystal, Renette, and Chiffon. And I think these characters really make the movie. Like they're the Greek chorus in this like very classic tragic comedy, whatever. And without them, I think it just falls flat.
Yeah. They really add a lot to it. I'm assuming they were there in the original.
Oh yeah, they've been there the whole time.
Yeah, they're so much of a part of it. So they do that first song. We go into the plant shop, and Seymour comes rushing up from the basement carrying a bunch of terracotta pots, and he drops them. And this is, so everybody knows about the Wilhelm scream. That's like common. Like you don't even need to be a movie nerd to know about the Wilhelm scream. But I personally am on a crusade for 2 sound effects that I think are just as used as the Wilhelm scream. One of them I think we need to stop using. No. It's the sound of these pots being dropped, which I tried to find so I could drop it in here, and I can't. But if you think of the sound of someone dropping a bunch of
terracotta,
what's the general? Yeah, but it's not just terracotta. Someone could drop a bunch of china. Someone could drop a bunch of coffee cups. The sound of that hitting the ground is constant. And then the other one, which I have noticed to the point that it drives me bananas, is a creaky door open noise that gets used in the Avengers level production and the guy who's shooting it on his iPhone in his backyard with his kids. It's like everybody has this one creaky door open sound effect, and people use it in places where the doors don't creak, and it drives me crazy. I heard it I swear to Christ, I heard it in a movie with a submarine. Which I guess that door is metal, but the submarine door is going to be well oiled. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've also seen they get fully crazy sometimes. I've seen people use the little pen lights for eye dilation that don't have a sound because it's just you touch the metal to the metal. And I watched someone in a movie hold it up and it was like click, click, click. And I was like, that's not what happens.
That doesn't bother me as much as it's everybody. We just need more door opening noises in the library is my beef. I don't care. Like what you're describing, I get is funny, but I'm like, I just there are other door sounds you could use. But this leads right into Skid Row, right?
We meet Ellen Green, who has the film noir music with her on her heels.
Is this what she actually sounds like?
Almost. She puts on the highness, but the lispiness is there.
Okay.
It's not super far off. She was in Pushing Daisies.
It just seems like it would be really difficult to say order lunch at a deli.
Yeah.
Above the general above the general noise of plates clinking and people chewing and murmuring and everything is she's trying to order a sandwich. It seems like that would be quite difficult.
Yeah, she was in Pushing Daisies, and she was in Heroes for an episode or 2.
I do remember her being in that.
You remember me losing my mind?
Yeah,
she played what's his heavy brow. Zachary Quinto, she played his mom.
So Skid Row is the song that I think has the most DNA of the Disney stuff. I think it's all over that for sure. Mm-hmm. But the other part of it that is also a sort of Ashman Menken classic is one character starts singing, and then there's a bit of a lull, and then another character starts singing, and the music is slightly changed. It's not quite a key change moment, but it slightly changes. So you kind of shift from protagonist A to protagonist B, and then up in the third act of this song, we realize they're singing the same song and they're singing together now, which is a classic move of theirs, which is all over those Disney movies. But it's it seems like 2 songs, and it's oh no wait, JK, that's actually the same song the whole time. Yeah,
you got.
The song was coming from inside the house.
This feels like gotcha music.
Yeah, exactly.
the other great thing is that like this song is so grimy. Like,
oh yeah,
they don't.
The set's disgusting.
Well,
this is gross.
And the thing is, it's like when you're in Disney World and you're in the Rock and Roller Coaster and you're like, oh, this is a grimy parking garage. No, it's not. It was built. They made it look grimy. Every single set was built on the Albert Broccoli stages in London.
Yeah, they're gorgeous, gorgeous sets.
I love them so much. It's just cool that like normally it's pretty. Up until this point, musicals are pretty like flashy and splashy, and this is like, no, this is a song about how much we hate being poor and how much we hate our jobs. And
and the
life
world
sucks.
just takes a dump on us all the time. Yeah, no, it's a very amusing song. So this, of course, leads us into Audrey 2 and a coffee can, and I love
I want it so bad. They sold a Funko Pop.
Oh, did they? I love the coffee can. I like that, and then they carry this aesthetic through in a scene not too long from now where we see Rick Moranis's room room used loosely. It's like the boiler room with a cot in it, but all of his little experiments are in whatever pot or vessel he can get his hands on. Yeah, so there's, I think, a Crisco over there. I think there might be a Spam plant, and I really like the sort of aesthetic of it. It serves his character really well. He's
a tragic accident away from being Poison Ivy, basically.
Yeah, no, that's certainly about that. Certainly almost a Batman villain.
This is where we get so like one of the things I love about this movie is that it is like crystal clear and consistent in style and concept, and that the style and the concept is also just like perfectly executed across the board. So like it knows what kind of funny it is. It knows what kind of style it is. And basically Mr. Mushnick is like, "Hey, I'm closing the store forever. Don't bother coming into work." And they say like, "No, Seymour's found a weird plant. Let's put it in the window." And he says, "Just because you put a strange and interesting plant in the window, people don't just suddenly." And Christopher Guest walks in and goes, "Excuse me, I couldn't help but notice that strange and interesting plant." Like,
yeah, it's very Muppet-like.
It's perfect energy.
Yeah, it's very obvious that this is a Muppet. Like Frank Oz makes this Muppet adjacent,
and Brian Henson worked on it.
Oh yeah, one of the Henson daughters is an extra.
Jim's daughter is the girl in the dentist office.
Right, but he had 3 daughters. That's what I meant by one of the Henson. Yeah, there are 3 Henson daughters. I don't know all of their names, but one of them is she the headgear girl or the girl with the doll?
She's headgear girl.
That headgear girl is exactly the energy. I always say that I want to be in a movie with a head injury.
Yeah.
And like
mumble
that is what
things.
I want. Yeah,
not necessarily a line, but
yeah. No, I don't need a line. I just want to have a really big head bandage and get walked by the camera. That's all I want. I want to be a featured extra.
There we go. So we get the song Dadu, which explains how Seymour found the plant.
Yeah.
The florist in this scene.
Your classic Asian mystic nonsense of this era.
It's not though. It's a solar eclipse.
No, but the Asian man is like the part before the solar eclipse is very much the Gremlins energy that we've talked about.
Similar, yeah. I just appreciate that it's not an ancient Chinese magic plant.
Yes,
it's not a Gremlins plant.
But that is true.
This florist was in Batman, the 1989 Batman, as a drug lord.
Oh,
and then he was in Batman Begins as a prisoner.
That's awesome.
Right? Like that's such a
really
weird
cool.
little, like you were in the first of both.
That's really great.
So from the story we learn that, we learn, but Rick Moranis does not yet, that during the solar eclipse, Audrey 2 kind of like beamed onto this like table of flowers, and so he bought her.
Yeah.
And Christopher Guest is so pleased by the story, he's like, "I'll buy $50 worth of roses. You can't break 100, I'll take twice as many." Like, that's the world we're living in, people. Buckle up.
Yeah. It does a really great job of setting the table for, here is what this is, and you don't have to like it, but I'm telling you right now very quickly. Yeah, this is the world, and you can take it or leave it, but I have set the table, and the rest of the movie is just more courses coming onto that same table.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is another reason for this movie of like, I understand if people don't like it. Like, if this style is not your jam, This is 90 minutes of that, of this jam.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, this is a baby pool full of the thing that either you like or don't, but it is all that.
It's a shame to me that you don't like it, but I understand that it's not for everybody.
Also, he bought Audrey for like under $5.
$1.95.
But the inflation, I'm saying right now, it's still only about $5. I thought that's a pretty good bargain.
Oh yeah, business.
But
booms.
see, now, so this is the question I have to ask. In the original play version, is Audrey an alien?
Audrey 2?
Audrey 2.
So it's never explicitly stated. It's just sort of like appears.
Because I knew that the song Big Green Mother from Outer Space is from the movie. It made me think that perhaps if the seller did sell the plant to Rick Moranis' character and say, "Oh, it's a lucky plant. It will make your dreams come true."
No, it's not. So Dadu is exactly the same. There's just no. Obviously, in the stage, there's the restrictions. You don't see Seymour walking down the street and all that.
Okay.
And I don't have the script.
It does lyrically feel like a song you would write for when you can't show the thing. Yeah. You have to tell, don't show in this instance, and so you have to make it fun.
A lot of tell, don't show. I wish I had my script. It's at our parents' house in my like theater trunk of all my old high school scripts and costumes and shit. So I don't remember the exact lyrics, but I'm pretty sure they're the same. It might even mention the total. Oh, it still does the total eclipse of the sun. That
has to be in there because that moment is like that part of the song is so central, I feel.
Yeah, so that is still there.
Yeah. But I was curious if that was the more Faustian thing, like the bargain is
yeah, no, it's still it is not implied that the Chinese man is in any way connected to the devil. So
this sets off a big buying spree.
Yeah,
people are coming in buying every flower in the shop, every scrap of every greenery.
I honestly, I kind of wish that all these, like, because it's just one-offs of like people opening the door, being like, "The plant in the window, where did you get it?" And like, quick lines like that. And I was like, "Where's like Catherine O'Hara? Like, where's your like funny, like?" Because they got John Candy, they got Patrick Dooley, they got Jim Belushi to replace Patrick Dooley later. Like,
yeah.
You get Bill Murray.
Jim Belushi's not in this one,
no,
is he?
Jim Belushi replaced Patrick Dooley for the reshoots because Patrick Dooley couldn't come back.
Okay.
So like, I'm like, we couldn't get a couple like other like comedians that we love to do like a wacky thing,
or other SCTV folks.
Yeah,
because that bit. I mean, I was going to say this.
Wasn't she?
Yes. We've talked about her a couple times in that context. But I was thinking about that later. The bit where it's Rick Moranis and John Candy feels like a sketch from the show.
Mm-hmm. So business booms. Mushnick is like, "I'm going to take you to dinner." Audrey can't because she has a date. Oh, she also had a black eye. We should mention that's an important plot point.
Yes,
and
it is an important plot point.
She had a black eye this morning, and Mr. Mushnick right away is like, "Your boyfriend's hitting you. You need to dump it." Like, that's what I like. Audrey's abuse isn't really played for laughs. Like, all the characters are aware of it and trying to help her, but she...
Yeah, even the Greek chorus is trying to help her.
But she doesn't believe she deserves better, which, like, is not uncommon for victims of abuse. To be like, this is what this is the best I can do.
Yeah, it's the only thing in the whole show that's not heightened.
Exactly, which I appreciate.
Yeah, you don't want it to be funny.
No, and
I guess it's not spousal abuse, but domestic abuse. Like, you don't want to do funny domestic abuse. That's not good.
No, and I think, especially if it's done, like, it is a central theme that she is in an abusive relationship, and like, it's interesting that the dentist is only funny when he's alone or just with Rick Moranis.
Yes,
he's never jokey. He doesn't get jokes when he's with Audrey.
Right.
Which I think is a clever way to write it in a way that doesn't,
Yeah. No, I hadn't recognized that when watching it, but you do make a good point that he is a different character depending on who he's with, which also is, frankly, the way most abusers are described. Yeah.
Abusers.
So Mushnick was supposed to take Rick Moranis out for dinner, but he's like, no, the plant's sick. You stay home and deal with that.
You fix it. I gotta go.
Audrey is not Mushnick's daughter, right?
No, none of them are his children.
Okay.
But he views them that way.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like we explicitly know that Rick was sort of adopted by this guy
because they cut the song. I guess
not sort of adopted. Okay, but he is like actually adopted by this guy.
No, I mean he was taken. he was quote unquote taken out of the Skid Row home for boys. But I don't know how that because that one's not a musical. I don't think.
Okay. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that because I didn't want to say it incorrectly.
No, it's just a father figure.
We cut to Rick in the basement, and he's trying to fix Audrey, too.
He sings Grow For Me, which is a lovely little song that every boy with this vocal range has had in his book at one point. Like, it's just a classic boy audition song, and it's like, okay, we can put that one out to pasture for a bit. We'll pick it back up in 10 years. And this is where we get the reveal that Audrey 2 eats blood. And they cut a line that I really love from the stage show where he cuts his finger on a rose, and Audrey 2 starts making, he starts sucking his finger, and Audrey 2 makes the same noise and, opens her mouth for it. And in the stage show, he says, well, I guess a few drops couldn't hurt, long as you don't make a habit out of it or anything, which, just is funny, but also, to me, starts to, plant the seeds of, he's willing to do all this. He's making active choices.
Oh, I don't get that read at all. That's interesting.
That's what I mean. It's I guess I can do this, but don't let it happen again. If you're letting it slide,
I see where you're coming from. Yeah.
You can see the top of the slope. Right.
I love the little puppet. There's basically small Audrey, medium Audrey, and giant Audrey.
There's small, medium, large, and extra large. So the small is in a coffee can. The medium is the one he's holding in the radio show, and the one that he's feeding in the basement later during You Never Know. Or Some Fun Now. Then large is I'm singing Feed Me, get it. And then extra large.
Oh, it does get bigger between that. Okay, you're right. I was sort of conflating those last two stages. But the little one in the can, they do it in a stop motion-y way, I'm assuming, where it sort of flexes its arms and then pops out of the can.
It moved towards the camera in a way that was concealed by the coffee can. I don't know unfortunately, the behind the scenes aren't very. There's a 30-minute thing on YouTube for behind the scenes and a blooper reel. And I'm I need more. That doesn't fully.
But it's a really cool effect as the plant eats the blood and then sort of does a Mario whoop, 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 and grows.
It waits till he leaves and then it grunts and pops its way out. I think I can't remember if they offered John Candy Mr. Mushnick and he said, do you have anything smaller than that?
Yeah. Well, that's great. This is exactly the amount of John Candy energy this movie needs.
I think if
I don't think John Candy as Mushnick is good.
No. I think if it wasn't so because this is manic John Candy. This isn't Uncle Buck John Candy.
Right.
Which
this is Uncle Buck with the drill.
Yeah, but Uncle Buck with the drill is not the whole Uncle Buck. He's
No, I know. It's I wasn't arguing.
And so I think that's why I'm this is just a hair too much John Candy. Because he's playing a shock jockey or morning zoo or whatever.
A morning zoo. Yeah, morning zoo guy. What I really love about this sequence here is it probably cost $10,000 to $25,000 to do all of the work on the guy has this homemade flying machine. It looks like it's not.
It's weird version of the Beetlejuice waiting room.
It absolutely is that. Yes, I have that same note here, actually. But this guy's thing in particular, there's no joke about it. The camera doesn't even linger on it. And you kind of don't get that it's a flying machine until the final angle of it when Rick Moranis gets up and the camera turns and you can kind of see the wings more thought out. And it's just, I love the type of thing that represents an artist getting to be no, this is important because it fills in the world in the right way. And some suit didn't come in and be hey, nobody's going to get it unless you point at it. No,
which
we have to hold people's hands.
Oz. Frank Oz is the kind of guy who's yeah, we're just going to have to do that.
Yeah. But it's you do need to hold the audience's hands. You don't necessarily need to put them in a baby buggy and push them around.
Yeah, you don't need to point at the animals in the zoo. You can hold their hand and walk them through the zoo.
Yes, exactly. And tell them salient information about, say, the primates or what have you.
Yes.
But I just, all three of these people are very good casting, costuming, prop work, but the guy in particular in this insane contraption who's just quietly sitting waiting for his turn, it cracked me up. And he doesn't do anything funny. He just is in the scene.
Then there's the lady with the locked box. It's chained and locked like the end of Jumanji.
Yes, it's crazy.
I almost wish the box rattled.
Yeah,
like, I almost wish she was like, she gave a smile and the box did a jiggle wiggle.
Yeah. This is the first time I think I've ever consciously noted that Rick Moranis is the puppeteer of Audrey in this scene.
Only for this moment. And when you do a rental package, which if you're a community theater doing Little Shop of Horrors, just rent it.
Yeah.
Do a soup bowl dinner or whatever the hell. Rent the puppets because it's up there with like Milky White, the cow in Into the Woods, always is terrible looking. Just rent the puppets. That's what we did as a high school.
Yeah.
You get like a baby, you get one for him to hold, and then you get 4 sizes. And for this one, it's Audrey 2 in the little pot with a fake hand on it, and it's attached to a red jacket. So Seymour always wears a red jacket in the scene with his puppet because they're all the same rental package.
That's funny. But it was like, oh, that's a fake hand. Oh, he's doing the puppet, because the puppet starts looking at this lady's butt and it's about to chomp it. And then Rick kind of grabs it and is wrestling with it. Mm-hmm. But I love a good, like, this gimmick just works for me. Even though I know what it is, I still find it delightful. There's a thing they do in the Universal theme parks with the
raptors.
No, it's actually, I think, a little triceratops that they hold.
Oh, they do both, actually.
Oh, okay. But it's the same gimmick of a fake arm holding a thing, and Disney's used it too. But it's like, I know exactly what it is that I'm still delighted by it.
I think Dreamfinder used to do it with a Figment.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. But if like I, as a full-grown about to be 34-year-old man, would like happily go pet the little triceratops. And knowing that it is a adult person with a puppet, like I still would be delighted by it.
Oh yeah. So in the musical, this is a song. It's a Mushnick song, actually, but they cut all of Mushnick's music. I don't know if Vincent Gardenia can't sing or what.
Yeah, I don't know.
They cut all of his music.
So wait, the song, the DJ part is Mushnick?
No, so it's Mushnick. It's Seymour and the radio host are off stage, and Mushnick is listening to the radio.
He's listening to the radio.
Got it. Crystal Arnett and Chiffon, and then he sings the song about like, hey, you never know, business could turn around, whatever.
Yeah. Because they do fade into what you're describing.
Yes.
Audrey comes in, he's listening to it on the radio. Yeah. But yeah, this is a very fun little bit of John Candy. He's like he's got 2 microphones and is like doing gun sound effects as if it's going around the room.
Got the crank, the like crank.
Yeah.
Little toy piano.
It's the definition of the word zany, but it's very enjoyable to me. So we're in the plant shop with Audrey 1 and Mr. Mushnick, and Audrey has again been beaten by this schmuck. And
she's turned her fishnets from the first scene into a sling.
Yeah, this is pretty dark, actually.
But like, to me, like, yeah, she has nothing. So she has to do that.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it's dark.
Like, I think there's a reason gay people and queer people identify with Audrey so much, because it's like a lot of them, especially in the 80s, it was like, yeah, no, we have nothing. We have no legacy. All we want is that like picturesque future we read about in Better Homes and Gardens. But like, how the hell's that going to happen? Which of course leads into Somewhere That's Green. Mm-hmm. I will say, if you're about to say you don't like this song. Well, I don't, but the part that I specifically don't like, and it's like, I always try to say something nice about the movies that we don't like. I'm going to say something mean about this movie. I really strongly dislike the joke of we're doing something set in the past and we're going to comment on something. Like the 12-inch TV screen is the perfect example of it. Like, I love that joke. Yeah, it's like my least favorite. That's my least favorite brand of joke of like, oh, isn't it funny? They thought the thing that we have now would be crazy back then. I think that's more to set the world you're in. It's fine. It's my least favorite kind of joke. Because I think there's not a lot in the original production that said, like, it doesn't, like, they never say what year it is. The movie kind of does, because they talk about President Kennedy. But in the stage musical, all it says is on the 23rd day of the month of September of an early year of a decade not too long before our own. So, like, It could be whenever. Like, if you did a production of Little Shop now, you could make it about the 80s. I probably wouldn't do that. But I think that's one of the few lines. I think you could make a fun version of this that was in the 80s. I think so. I would need to like sit down and like I have a production meeting of one of like, what would this look like?
I will say what surprises me most about this is like there's two ways that cartoons do children, and this goes with the
I love the two kids. It's so perfect.
Each parent has a carbon copy mini-me, which is funny. But what I like more is when it's like we cross them, and so it'd be like the
Audrey hair
blonde...
with the glasses.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And like Rick hair but long and curly.
I think that could be fun. But yeah, it's Somewhere That's Green is this lovely little moment. I also like she's reading Better Homes and Gardens, September 1959, and I want this copy. I don't know where to find it. It's not available right
eBay.
now. No, I checked eBay. I have to
you can set up an alert.
I'm gonna have to set up an alert because it was available on Etsy at one point and it's gone now. I want that, but it's this lovely little slice of what she pictures as like a perfect life, and it's very Levittown,
it's cute.
Very 50s Tupperware party. And I think that's another thing where like in the stage show, this is just Audrey singing to the urchins, the doo-wop girls.
Yeah.
Like, hey, this is what I dream about, and in a stage show, you kind of get to. Or in a movie, you get to feature the actress still, and then show her and have her sing and all that. But like, sometimes it's fun to like watch high school productions and be like, oh, some high schools do things weird. Because my high school was everyone got cast in the musical, but if like you were ensemble, they weren't going to shove you in places you didn't belong. Like you were in the background, you were whatever. I saw a production of a nearby high school to me where they had 5 Dream Audreys that came out and did dances during certain numbers, and then they had 4 Dream Seymours that danced with them. And so she's singing somewhere.
Danced together or just danced?
Both.
Okay.
So like she's singing Somewhere That's Green, and then they have Dream Audrey with an iron, and then Dream Audrey with a frying pan and all this shit. And I'm like, you're crapping it up.
I didn't see this, obviously. I can see the world in which that works. I don't know that it would be necessarily doable on a high school budget, but I can see the world in which what you're describing
I think a world
works.
In which you have one person, like Audrey singing, and then there's a fake Audrey, whatever.
Well, I guess in my version of it,
in
my version of it, you would just hit them one at a time with spotlights.
Oh no! They are all on stage at once, and I was just like, oh, what are we doing?
So this is the second Feed Me montage.
Yeah, and so this is a song that this was part of You Never Know, got reworked into become this song, which is called Some Fun Now, which is the 3 doo-wop girls on the roof. I don't love this version. I think I would rather the original, but
okay.
But I guess
I've never heard it. So.
It was a Mushnik song, so they were like, we gotta do something with it.
Yeah, you must be right with him not being a very good singer.
It's the only thing, the only reason that they would cut everything. I mean, I guess Mushnik and Son isn't plot relevant.
Yeah,
but it's a fun number.
Mushnik and Son is the like we're giving the old guy a song so that the leads can take a break song.
No, because Seymour's in it.
Okay.
So like, it's not even that. It's not even, hey, I'm an old Broadway legend. It was just like, this is the song where Mushnik says, I want to adopt you. Mushnik hears Seymour say like, yeah, I'll think about leaving with the plant, offhand to Oren, the dentist, just to get him out of the shop. And it's like, oh shit, if he leaves, I'm broke. I have to do something. I know, I'll adopt him. Did you notice the neon sign in this scene?
I don't have a note about it, but it's possible when you say the thing, I will say, yes, I did see that.
So they're on a rooftop, the 3 girls, and there's a sign that says Choose Gum, CHOOZ, and the last OZ blinks for Oz.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I was like, I'm not getting this. Chogun?
Frank
What's
Oz.
Chogun? No, I get it now. I was trying to parse the other. I think if I saw it, I would get it, but I was trying to go the other way.
So the strop is super successful. There's an emergency funeral bouquet that's needed, and it is the saddest funeral bouquet.
Yeah.
It's 5 lilies with some glitter.
Yeah, and this is a good little line where Rick Moranis intimates that he'd like to take her out, and Audrey is like, yeah, I mean, I'm in a relationship, but I can't. And he's like, oh, but you'd be seen with me somewhere in public, like a department store?
Well, because she says he's like, I think you suffer from low self-image. Get yourself some new clothes.
Yeah. It just reminded me of, I think one of the best reboot things, and I know this is going to sound buck wild, is those Brady Bunch movies, which I recently rewatched the trailers for.
I don't know a George class that goes to our school.
But the idea of like they just took those characters and made it a fish out of water movie instead of trying to do something else really worked for me. But I really, the only thing I really remember from that movie is
Sure Jam?
Kids put on your Sunday best. We're going to Sears. And then there's like an extended montage of them just like having a day at Sears that looks so fun. That like they're picking up stuff. They're looking in the electronics section. They're putting a record on
It's
or
been
whatever.
a minute since I've watched that movie.
I haven't watched it since I was a kid, but I remember them as being pretty funny. And the type of funny that they are, I'm imagining, is like more likely to hold up. But all I could think of with the department store was kids were going to Sears.
And this is where we're finally introduced to Audrey's boyfriend, the dentist.
In just a delightful wig. He looks like Tony Del Vecchio from Backyard Baseball.
He does look like he's in Backyard Baseball.
He's
the tall one, right?
what he looks like. No, Pete was the real tall one. Tony was tall-ish, but he had the hair and the jacket. Yeah, and a lollipop instead of a cigarette.
I remember that, yeah. Steve Martin just apparently did it in 6 weeks. Give it a great performance.
Yeah, no, he gives it all he's got, and it's very funny and it's ridiculous, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm. I love the giant mouth puppet they made. They did not need that, but it's great.
For like 1 second they used this shot.
You would think they would have done it in a way where they can put different teeth in and use it several times.
Yeah,
but not with Henson Studios. They're like, no, we thought it'd be fun to do it for, 3 seconds in this song, so we built a giant puppet.
Did you clock that his nurse is Professor Sprout from the Harry Potter movies?
Uh-huh.
I will say, I think if you were to be like casting this, like Steve Martin's got this job offered to him, and it's like lunatic dentist but funny. That on paper,
also an abuser.
Well, yes. But taking that part away, the serious part, but just being like lunatic dentist but funny seems like such a fertile playground for somebody like him. It has a lot of physical comedy. Yeah.
Well, apparently another person they wanted, people, I don't think it was the studio, producers maybe, wanted Rodney Dangerfield really badly to be in this movie.
They wanted Rodney to do the plant voice.
Don't do that. Make Rodney Mushnick.
I think Rodney Dangerfield's only spot that I would put him in this movie would be the Bill Murray role.
No, I think
he wouldn't be into it. He would be afraid.
Well, no, that's the whole point. That character is from the original movie.
Yeah, I know. It's Jack Nicholson, isn't it? Yeah. But I'm just saying the Bill Murray character, which I don't think we're quite there yet.
Not yet.
But is a perfect example of a character that is completely unnecessary to the movie, but when you do it right, is something that makes your movie better.
Mm-hmm. And they did. So
it's like we constantly talk about cutting things down, and this is an example of the opposite working.
This movie is 93 minutes. Like it is.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying like,
I just meant for the audio. Like it's a 94-minute movie. It's breezy.
Yeah. But I'm just saying it's a perfect example of something that doesn't need to be in the movie whatsoever, and yet works perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the idea that they thought they listened to this music and were like, yeah, Rodney Dangerfield makes sense. Like, no, don't do that, baby.
They thought and I just forgot his name, but the singer from the Four Tops
Levi Stubbs.
who does Audrey 2's voice, they thought it was too scary.
Yeah, he's the devil.
Well, I like it. I think it's appropriate level of scary, but they were like, it's too scary. The plant should be funny. But Rodney Dangerfield doesn't work whatsoever as the devil.
No, because you need
and I like
a
Rodney.
Little scary. Like,
right.
There's no scary in Rodney's voice.
I also really love, we are past this now, but the motorcycle stuff is delightful. Like this motorcycle is fake and we don't care that know that it's fake.
Again, this is the world, Muppets. Everyone.
Yeah, but it like flying into the office is a hoot.
In the alleyway, it literally just it falls and just stops in place. It doesn't. There's no weight to it at all.
And then another time he like gets off it and it rolls a little forward. He points at it and it stops like it's a horse. Like it's very good.
Like this is the kind of motorcycle the Fonzie drives.
Yes, exactly.
Another great transition where he tells someone to spit at the end of his song, and they do, and as they spit, we cut to Seymour throwing plant water.
I believe that's called a spit wipe.
A spit wipe, you're right.
I think that's what that would be called.
And this is where we really see Steve Martin be kind of scary. Like when when he turns on Audrey, it is genuinely a little frightening.
Oh yeah, no, he knows what he's doing here, and it plays it really perfectly.
So they leave. And we get...
She sits side saddle on the back of a motorcycle, which
Have you seen her skirt? She has to.
I know, but the idea of sitting side saddle on a motorcycle, I cannot think of anything scarier.
Maybe. So we finally get the plant singing, and good Lord, I know I said it at the top, but this puppet work is just immaculate. And that's what...
Yeah, I read it. I read an interview with the guy who was involved in creating it and stuff, and he talked about how like the lips aren't perfect, and I'm like, yeah, but they're like fine, like it's not noticeably off or misaligned.
They're close enough that you kind of forgive it.
Mm-hmm.
But like, so for these scenes where it's the giant plant singing, they couldn't film it at full speed.
Oh, that makes sense.
So they had to get playback of Rick Moranis, the plant, and Audrey, because she interacts with the plant later, and slow it down to half speed. And so Rick Moranis is acting in slow motion, lip syncing at half speed to a plant that is also lip syncing at half speed, so they could speed it up.
That's wild.
Yes.
That's really wild.
And
that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, the final puppet took 60 puppeteers.
Yeah, the list, I was like, oh, I should make ssure we shout out this person. And I saw the list and I was like, nope.
People
there's 60 should go read it on the Wikipedia.
So I encourage you, everyone, to look up there's a YouTube video of the making of. It's like 30 minutes. You can scroll through it because some of it is like clips from the movie. There's a great shot where they're like talking about all the people doing the puppeteer work for it. And they just do like 7 quick cuts of like a bank of 8 people with like, they look like they're doing train pulleys of like train levers back and forth. And then there's one dude, like 3 dudes who each double fisting a bar, and they're just like pulling them down, staring dead-eyed into space. It is
so much work.
So crazy to look at. But yeah. All the big puppet work, talking scenes had to be done at a slower speed and then sped up.
And you see why this stuff went out of favor in favor of a computer, because it's like you'd have 5 dudes do it on a computer.
Yeah, and then in 3 years it looks like butt.
I am not advocating.
I know
for
that,
it.
but that's
offended that you'd even insinuate. But I'm saying you can see how people are like, it just seems way easier to do this the other way, and I just think 9 times out of 10 it doesn't work. Like it's
or
just
you
not
have
as
to be
good.
able to blend them, like in Jurassic Park.
Right.
And like they're remaking this movie with Chris Evans as the doctor, allegedly, which I
think Chris,
that's great.
I think he can do that. I really do.
Spot
he
on.
has the comedic chops.
Scarlett Johansson as Audrey, and I'm like, I guess. And then Taron, what's his face from Rocket Man,
Egerton.
and I'm like, I think he's too pretty.
Well, here's the thing: there are no ugly actors anymore. The ugliest mainstream actor is Adam Driver.
Well, I don't think Seymour is, because I don't think Rick Moranis is ugly. Rick Moranis is like, she's all that cute. He's cute with glasses on.
That is a fair point, yes.
But like Taron Egerton is like a model. Like I just need like hashtag no more hot Seymours. But they're just gonna do it as CGI puppet, CGI.
Oh yeah,
plant,
it's gonna suck.
It's gonna be garbage.
Suck,
It'll look amazing for 1 year. And then,
it won't even look amazing for 1 year because they won't spend enough money to do it correctly. It will not look amazing.
I think they will, based on, because this movie was made so much money in like they're remaking because it made so much money, so they know they're going to get a return on investment on this one. I
would be shocked if you think the plant looks good on first blush.
I think you're going to get maybe a year of like, oh, that plant's actually pretty good looking, and then you're going to be like, oh, it's going to be like Avatar, where you're like, oh, woof.
Yeah.
It's do puppets. Just fucking do puppets.
Yeah. So you got "Feed Me Seymour," which is the big song of the week. Actually, this is where I I made my note here and I was going to cause a controversy with you. It's like, you gave me a lot of shit when I was telling you my girlfriend really likes Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, which is obviously extremely religious. Neither of us is. And I was like, I surprisingly really dug it. And you were like, really? And I was like, yeah, well, all the music is like different. Like every song is different. And they use the term jukebox musical to mean a completely different thing. But to me,
Joseph
it feels
is jukeboxy.
Yeah, but like jukebox musical typically means all the songs are real songs, not written. Yeah. But what I find entertaining about that is like every song is a completely different style, so that if you don't like one, the next one it's like, well, you only have to listen to it for this one, versus where many musicals is like we have a style and all of the songs kind of fit as a piece together, and it's like, that's great if you like it, but if you don't like song one, you're like, holy shit, I'm in for a long day. Almost every song in this musical is different. They're all sort of 60s feeling, but they all have a very different vibe, I feel, in terms of musicality.
Yeah, but they're all steeped in that Ashman Menkenism. Like,
maybe. But I think the musically, they're like, there's a rock song, there's a doo-wop song, there's a ballady number. Like, I feel like this is more akin to the Joseph musical style than that.
I wouldn't, because I think there's an Ashman Menken quality to it, all the songs. Like, there.
I'm not talking about the lyrics though. I'm talking about.
I know music. Well,
okay.
Menken did the music.
Yeah,
and I think that they all kind of have a 60s steep. They all have the magic quality of Menken music.
Yeah, I mean, the music is very good. I don't disagree with you. I just was like, these are all pretty different styles. I wonder where that fits in.
I wouldn't think that. But I think this is where the musical is a little insidious, because basically the plant's like, hey, I need blood. Like, you've been feeding me, but I need more. And Seymour's like, am I just supposed to kill people? And he's like, well, I think you know someone who deserves to get killed and fed to a plant. And then you see the dentist be an abuser. And as the audience, you're like, oh, yeah, I think he deserves that. They're planting the seeds that you're okay with it already.
Yeah. I also, the idea that has set off this fight is that Audrey fell off the motorcycle, and she doesn't appear to be in any way worse for wear of that, which also goes back to the motorcycle being so nonsensical.
Well, also Steve Martin kicks open her doors. He cut his hand the first take.
Oh no.
He kicked the doors, and they have the little like amber glass window. And so when he kicked it, they bounced and came back, and he threw up his hands to like push the door again, but he hit the glass and they both shattered.
Oh man, that's crazy. Rick Moranis also gets to the murder way quicker than I think I would.
I mean, it's a musical. They gotta keep the pace.
Move it along, but yes.
But that's, it's real quick of like, oh, hey, audience, I bet you just agreed. And, like, I'm not saying that I think Steve Martin's character should live. I think he's a shithead. But, like, the point is to make the audience go, yeah, no, I think he deserves to die. He can be fed to the plant.
Yeah. So this is our unhinged maniac Bill Murray business. He's a sadist, and he really likes the dentist hurting him.
Was Ghostbusters 87 or 85?
84.
Oh, okay. So that was before this.
Yeah, I think this is probably just a favor. Steve Martin was a big SNL name.
For some reason, I thought they said Slimer was the ghost of John Candy.
No, it was Belushi, John Belushi.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
John Candy didn't die until the 90s.
You're right.
But he has his own bib that he brought, and he's like,
he brings his own bib. It's all these little things that aren't, that aren't like, again, you'd think a studio would be like, you got to point it out.
But I will say, no offense intended, but Bill definitely needed some braces for those bottom chompers.
People get top veneers only all the time. You don't see the bottom teeth a lot.
My man needed some help with the bottom row.
It's your professionalism that I respect.
There's the apron that Steve Martin is wearing here is a very like S&M-y shiny leather thing.
It's like
which all plays into like what they're doing here. Yeah, it honestly looks like a latex bib. So
he kicks him out because he's into it, and
it's only fun if you don't like it.
Exactly. Yeah. And he brings Seymour's brought a gun and is going to kill the dentist, And there's a song in the musical called Now, parentheses, It's Just the Gas. And they were like, we're just going to turn that into a scene, basically.
Yeah.
We didn't say it earlier, but Orin Scrivello DDS is addicted to nitrous oxide, giggle gas. I haven't been to the dentist in forever. Is that, I assume that's a thing still, right?
Yeah,
Laughing gas?
I think it's like the lightest form of sedative. So like you go,
It's more of a relaxant than a sedative, right?
Well, I think you just come out of it very quickly, which is the point of like versus like dental surgery where they need to actually put you out.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I've never had gas for any dental procedure.
What dental procedures have you had?
I've had cavities filled, and
come to me when you had to have 6 adult teeth pulled.
I mean, I had my wisdom teeth removed.
So did I, and then 6 adult teeth pulled.
Okay, I'm not trying to say I'm like Mr. Dental. I'm just saying I've never had the gas. I've only ever had Novocaine.
So he puts on.
I think the gas preceded Novocaine generally. I think now that we have Novocaine,
well, I thought it was.
Probably use that.
I remember them doing both. It was the gas to relax you and the Novocaine to numb you.
Okay.
So he puts on his special helmet so that he gets to like really pump that gas, and then he breaks it and he can't get it off. And in the musical, Seymour has a line, like a straight up line where he's like, well, basically it comes down to, well, technically I didn't kill him, so I could just not do anything and he'll die on his own. Yeah. And then that's the same thing.
Yes. I think that they morally clear Seymour here because it's like, yes, you were going to kill him, but then he killed himself, and that's not your fault.
Mm-hmm.
But then he does chop him up and feed him to a plant.
Well, yeah. So yeah, he dies, and
him dragging the body down the stairs with this bag where it's like
it's a Spirit Halloween like prop.
Yes,
you'd buy it for $50. It's bloody body bag.
Yeah. And then they go very, very Norman Bates psycho in both the music cue and the shadow on the wall of him using the axe to chop him up, which I thought was really cool.
And then it turns poppy, which I don't love.
Yeah.
Because in the stage musical, this is the Act 1 finale, and it's creepy because the Greek chorus comes out and sings a like minor key version of Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, that would be a more appropriate thing here, I feel.
And Audrey 2 is lit. We did it lit in red, and Audrey 2 just is like moaning like "feed me" as Seymour's like throwing body parts in, and they're like "chang-a-lang," and it's like I love that. I think that has more weight to it, especially considering Ashman and Oz really they were champions for the original ending. David Geffen was like, I don't think we can do that, guys, and they were like, no, we're going to. So it's interesting that like they would keep it lighter and like kind of absolve Seymour throughout the way. But Mushnick sees this happen.
Right. He catches him, and he doesn't confront him here. He ends up confronting him later. Yeah. This is suddenly Seymour.
Yeah, Seymour wakes up the next day and hears the police talking to Audrey, and he goes to talk to her, and they go to an abandoned lot, this giant lot.
It just happens to be here.
They couldn't heat it because it was so big. They were like, it's not worth it to heat. Sorry.
Yeah.
You all have to suck on ice cubes before each take so that you don't have breath. Allegedly.
That's really funny.
Yeah. Which
I've heard of people doing the opposite of that.
That feels more Roger Corman than like Frank Oz, David Geffen.
I feel like if you're gonna remake a Roger Corman movie, which we didn't touch on, but this is a remake of a Roger Corman. They turned a Roger Corman movie into the musical to start with.
A Roger Corman movie that was filmed in 2 days on sets that were left over as a dare, basically.
That feels very Corman.
He filmed Bucket of Blood in 5 days, and then the studio like left the sets up, and he was like, how much longer are you going to leave those up? And they were like, I don't know, probably take them down soon. He was like, can I have
I think
them?
It was a weekend.
No, so what happened was they were like, how long do you want them for? And he said, I just need them for 2 days of shooting. And they were like, are you serious? So he contracted the actors for a week and filmed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then filmed Thursday, Friday. And then that was the movie. And he wanted
that's why Jack Nicholson's in it, right? Jack Nicholson has a bigger role in the other production and is just kind of in that one, or no?
So Jack Nicholson's character is the same as Bill Murray. He's just there and is like into it. But he wanted Dick Miller, friend of the pod, to be Seymour, and he was like, I literally just played that same character in Bucket of Blood. I'm not doing that. So instead, he plays the first customer who eats flowers. But Mrs. Futterman plays Audrey.
I've never seen the Corman one.
I have it. It's a little too long. It feels like a movie that was shot in 2 days and is being stretched out.
Yeah. But you left that out, that it was movie to musical to movie musical.
No, that's what I said.
To Broadway.
Oh, I guess back to Broadway. You're right. It's the only one that's done that.
Yes, certainly.
I love Suddenly Seymour. It is a beautiful love song, and you hear it and you can hear where they're going to go with Disney.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. That is another DNA song. And I did use an example before of the kind of song where I'm like, I'm going to go get a drink. It's just slow for my personal taste is all. It's fine. I don't think it's bad. It's slow.
I love a love song. A good love song.
So Mushnick confronts Seymour and then turns it into like, okay, well, I know you did this, but if you leave the plant for me, then I just maybe won't say anything about it. So Mushnick I get as the sort of Faustian thing of like...
Which is not how it's supposed to go. That's not how it goes in the stage show.
I see.
So this song is called Supper Time, where Mushnick confronts him, and the plant's like, I think it's supper time. And so in the stage show, Seymour is directly responsible for killing Mr. Mushnick.
Oh, okay.
He says, hey, before we leave, shouldn't you get the day's receipts? And Mushnick's like, well, you put them in the safe, didn't you? And he's like, I forgot the combination. And he's like, well, where did you put them? He goes, I put them in the plant. Knock 3 times and it'll open up and you can reach inside and get them.
Ah, okay.
So the stage...
I remember that as being how you died.
Yeah, that was my favorite. I one of the top 10 things I've ever done as an actor, and it was a freshman of high school. Getting to get eaten by the plant was like so fun because you basically had to like slide out the back.
Yeah. I'm sure it was a hoot. That would be a delight, I'm sure.
For a while, it was Dad's screensaver. Or no, it was
really?
his
That's
background.
funny.
It was his background on his computer.
Nice.
So yeah, the stage show is way more direct that Seymour does it. Like Seymour makes the choice to do it, and in the musical,
sure.
In the movie, he's kind of like, he could have said more, he could have done more, but he didn't. And then the Greek chorus comes in so creepy, and it's great because like, yeah, this is a story about selling your soul to the devil. It should feel creepy.
Yeah. But that's the thing is the movie version doesn't make that very explicit.
Yeah, the movie version isn't as Faustian as it should be.
Yeah.
Then we get the Meek Shell and Harriet, but they cut all of it. Like, I love this song because again, it's Seymour making the choice. They cut the full like 3.5 minute song to a 45-second like hit clips version.
Yeah.
They filmed it. That's the thing. They filmed the whole dream sequence of Seymour.
A lot of times the songs in the movie musical end up getting cut for pacing because like a song that you needed on the Broadway stage in order for you to do XYZ backstage, you just don't necessarily need for the plot of the show.
But that's the thing. This song isn't that. It's Seymour's soliloquy in the middle of Meek Shell and Harriet where he says like, you know what? If I do this, I'm going to have to keep killing. I can't do this. I'm going to have to destroy the plant. And then he goes up there and he goes, but what about Audrey? If I don't have the plant, she might not love me anymore. And like we as the audience know that she loves him for who he is. Sure. But like, I think that's important to show like, oh, that's why it's all like, it all comes back down to that. And they cut it.
No, I get that.
It's on YouTube, saying. That whole little sequence. It's weird. Like they should have shot it differently, but it's there.
Yeah. That also could have been the reason why it was cut. It doesn't look great. So we get
the biggest plant yet.
Yes, but Rick and Audrey, he's like, let's get married. And so she's like, yeah, let's do that. So he goes and gets his suitcases. And I like the image of him like trying to tiptoe past the plant.
Don't wake daddy.
Really good. Yeah, exactly.
So the plant says, feed me. And he's like, well, I'll go down to the store and get you some meat and that's all you're going to get from me.
Yeah.
And in the musical, Audrey just kind of...
And it's never explained as if the plant has to eat human
It is not...
flesh.
So Seymour asks the question and never gets an answer. So Seymour very well could have just been feeding the plant like farm animals.
Right.
The kids in Carrie found pigs.
Right. Well, pig's blood is something you could purchase. People make blood sausage and stuff. Like you could buy it.
Well, it has to be fresh, so I don't know.
How does the plant know? Maybe you warm it up.
No,
like a
he
baby
says
bottle.
must be fresh.
Yes, I know, but what if it was still warm? How's he gonna know?
I think he would know. In the stage musical, Audrey just comes back of her own volition. She's like had like a dream and it was like something was wrong. I came back to the flower shop, but instead we get what I think is one of the best puppet sequences of the whole movie.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely done as like a, hey, you all have worked really hard, and this is a time for you to show off. So let's
do what
this.
you want. What literally, however you want to do this. Like I bet the script just said the plant makes a phone call, and they were like,
yeah,
whatever you want to do it.
Yeah.
He drags himself across. He uses the floor. He uses vines to open the cash register. Puts it in, dials. My favorite though is the 3 vines.
Drumming the fingers on the glass.
Drumming on the glass.
Delightful. Yeah.
It's so lovely. So he lures Audrey back to the shop. And then there's the little moment where he like hangs up the phone and then puts his little vine in the coin return slot and like wiggles it around to see if it came back.
Yeah. That was really good. So she comes back to the thing, and the plant, of course, eats her or starts to eat her, and it's Rick Moranis to the rescue. And I didn't get here, like, they didn't give her enough blood. I didn't want her to be, like, yucky, but I did want her to be visibly dying, because I was like, he starts talking to her.
She does have some, like, puncture wounds in her stomach.
Yes, but I just didn't get... she needed blood in her mouth, which is the movie symbol for, like, internal injuries and dying.
Yeah. Or
not like
it's like how you cough into a napkin and there's the blood spot and you're like, yes, well, she got 40 minutes left.
She needed a little bloody teeth or something, because I was like, what is she's dying? What?
This is where the two cuts diverge.
Yes, it's literally right here.
Yeah. So in the theatrical release, he pulls her out, she survives, whatever. Well, I'll explain the differences later, but he pulls her outside, and as Audrey 2 was eating Audrey, he said, join your dentist friend and Mushnik, they're right inside. So, cat's out of the bag, y'all.
Yeah.
And we get one of my favorite, like, instances of, like, lyrics being poetic and beautiful and, like, sad and tragic, because she realizes she's dying, and she realizes now what makes the plant grow.
Right.
So, she says, feed me to the plant, and I'll make it grow, and in a way we'll always be together, and in a way I'll always be somewhere that's green. And it's like, that's just so heartbreakingly beautiful.
Yeah, but also I don't get why Rick does it if immediately after he's going to change his mind.
What do you mean?
So Rick basically feeds her to the plant and then is like, you're a monster. I can't do this. Like, his plan is to destroy the plant after he feeds it to Audrey? No,
his plan was to kill himself after.
Okay. And then no one would take care of the plant, I guess, and it would die.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the orchestration of giving her to the plant and the doors opening, it's just like epic and big and grand and beautiful and sweeping, and I love it so much. It's
very Broadway-y.
Mm-hmm. And it's ripped straight from the Broadway score.
Yeah.
It's basically, they're like, we need enough time for the actor playing Seymour to lift the actress playing Audrey and carry her over to the plant.
So he ends up getting up on the roof. I guess he's going to jump and kill himself. Mm-hmm. And up on the roof is an inexplicably placed Batman-like salesman.
Well, so I'm glad they did something stupid here too, because in the theatrical release, he pulls her out. They sing a reprise of Suddenly Seymour, and they're literally like, shows me I can. And as they're mid-word, fucking Jim Belushi goes, hey, pardon me, excuse me, if you kids could stop singing for just a moment, I want to take a second of your time. So, like, it's just as stupid in the theatrical release.
Yeah,
so I appreciate that.
But he's got a mini Audrey too, and he's gonna, merchandise her.
Bigger than hula hoops.
He's like, we don't even need you. I was just doing this as a courtesy.
Also, I would give a lot of money for one of these, like, on the shelf Audrey 2s.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer.
Hundreds of them.
Oh yeah, they made a lot of these props. Although I have a hunch that after the first row, they're all kind of garbagey looking.
No, but like when they're all stand up on, then that shot of the supermarket.
Oh, you're right. They do. Yeah, you're right.
It's like all real.
Yeah.
So Seymour realizes now what the plan was all along for the plant.
Right.
And runs back in to destroy it. and we get Mean Green Mother from Outer Space, which to me just sounds like the Magic School Bus theme song.
Oh, it does sound a little bit like that.
It's got a lot of that, like, I don't know, I can't describe it, because I looked it up because I was like, maybe they wrote that and I didn't know it, or maybe Levi Stubbs sang it, but no, it's Lionel Richie, or no, Little Richard.
I could see Mean Green Mother being a novelty song on its own, not in this show, in the vein of a One-Eyed, One-Horned Flying for
maybe, yeah. And this is the first song nominated for best song Oscar with swears in it.
Oh, that's cool.
So when they had Audrey 2 on stage at the Oscars singing the song, they had to do different lyrics.
Oh, I didn't know they had the plant on stage.
Oh yeah,
That's
no,
neat.
Levi Stubbs was off stage. I think it was the plant in the back, and then they had Levi Stubbs like in a sparkly suit.
I'm gonna have to look that up. That's really cool. He shoots Audrey 2, and we learn that Audrey 2 is basically bulletproof.
Yeah, why not?
And then Audrey 2 picks up the gun, and it's a revolver, so we know that there's 6 bullets in there, and yet it's
bullets.
Infinity bullets.
I love that. She
really
picks
like
it up with a thing. She does a little, the like classic gunslinger gun swirl.
I love the destruction in general. This whole sequence of Audrey 2 smashing the shop all to bits, breaking the counter, Rick's hiding, and the plants are like coming
There's
around.
little baby
with the
heads
vines.
now, which is a nod to the original, original 60s movie.
Yeah, all that's really good. And of course, it ends with Rick Moranis getting eaten, which is deeply disappointing.
But like, again, in the stage musical, he makes the decision to do it. He grabs a machete and says, I'll destroy you from the inside, and like dives in.
Yeah.
And then obviously just dies.
Doesn't. Yeah.
But like that to me, even if like obviously that plan's never going to work, but the impetus behind it being, I am making this choice. Everything has been my choice thus far. This is my final choice. I think holds more water than the plant just picking him up and eating him.
I agree. It doesn't seem like he made a choice that went right. Like the plant at this point, like says like, where'd you think all your success came from? But it's not like Rick was wishing on a star and the plant, the monkey. It's not like a monkey's paw wish.
Yeah.
It's just, So this leads to the Patton version of the Greek chorus, which is really delightful to me.
Yes. We get finale ultimo / don't feed the plants, which I love. Like, I think it's such a great finale to this movie. And this sequence cost $5 million. And like, to me, I'm shocked that the studio didn't just like release it as is because it cost so much.
Well, you got to think it's like you can't throw good money after bad. So if you made a mistake and committed a bunch of money, you have to earn back your investment. And if people really hate this ending, you got to get them to come see the movie and tell their friends it's good. So you gotta make the investment.
Yeah. Because it is. I mean, I will agree. As much as like it makes my little theater kid heart happy to see this on like full budget, full color, full production value of Audrey 2 wins. Like, this is the end of the stage musical that we all like picture in our heads.
Yeah.
It makes me super happy. I wish there was a way to do both. And I think you could get away with it. I think you could finagle it as a dream sequence.
Yeah.
If like basically after Meek, Shell, and Harriet, you do Audrey run away with me, Audrey gets eaten, cut Mean Green Mother here, Plant eats Seymour and then destroys the world, cut back to the end of Meek, Shell, and Harriet, and he's like, I'm now realizing that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Let me fix it. And then do Mean Green Mother. And then
I think that makes sense. Yeah, that does make some sense. It would have also salvaged this and put it in the movie, which would be, Because
this ending didn't exist for still, I think there was...
It's like 2012 it popped up online.
So in 2000, I think in like 98 or 2000, the Warner Brothers put out a DVD copy of the movie with this ending, uncolored, uncorrected, unfitted.
Oh, it was earlier than I thought. Okay.
It was just like garbage. And David Geffen was like, what the actual fuck are you doing? And like pulled all those DVDs. So those DVDs are worth money now.
Interesting.
And then in 2012, this group of editors found like VHS copies from like crew members and whatever, and like didn't tell anyone and just like colorized, edited, fixed it all up and cleaned it up. And then they were like, hey, Frank Oz, like they called it the quote unquote director's cut. And Frank Oz was like over the moon happy that this happened and was like,
oh,
of
that's
course
great.
You can call it the director's cut. Of course.
Oh, that's great.
But so this full color lovely version didn't exist until 2012, and this movie's from 1986.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the, special features, alternate ending stuff is really a modern-y thing, so that doesn't super surprise me that it took a long time, but
yeah,
it's cool that they were able to find it.
Yeah.
This is the plants are out of control. You got insane people want to buy it. It's Cabbage Patch Doll fever, et cetera, et cetera. The plants go all over the place, and then suddenly the plants go wild. They're out of control, smashing walls, breaking things, smashing through people's TV sets.
A lot of high-rise apartments get destroyed.
Yeah. There's just mass chaos. There's a club that gets smashed. This is all really good miniatures, practical effects. I want to gloss over it, but I don't want to also beat by beat talk about an action sequence. But
you can find it online on YouTube. Just if you Google like original ending, Little Shop of Horrors, you can find it.
Yeah,
it's just
I do want to call out the one where the smokestack is like billowing out smoke, and the Audrey 2 like leans over and takes a big hit of it like it's a bong, and then blows does the opposite.
Doesn't.
Blows it inside and blows it up.
You think it's going to be that. You think it's going to be a drug reference, but it's not.
It's just very good mayhem, buildings being smashed, cars, and then at the end, the final sign-off is it attacks the audience.
The actual theater audience, which is how the original stage version ended. For the theatrical release, basically what happens is Audrey gets attacked, he pulls her out, she survives, there's just a hand wavy, I'm alive now. He goes back in, Patrick Martin shows up, to say, like, I want to sell Audrey too. Moranis goes back in. They sing Mean Green Mother. He picks up a frayed cable and stabs Audrey 2 with it, and she electrocutes and explodes.
Jaws 2.
Very Jaws 2. Audrey 1 and Seymour embrace and run into Audrey's, like, dream world of somewhere that's green. They go to the house. Yeah. And then 2 of the 3 Greek chorus girls show up because Tisha Campbell couldn't come back. So it's so great if you notice it, because if you don't like know what's coming, you don't think about it. You see Michelle Weeks and then you see Tashina Arnold, and all of a sudden the camera starts pushing down really fast, so that by the time Tisha Campbell would walk on screen, it's just her waist down because it's a body double.
Yeah.
And it cuts to a little baby Audrey 2 in the flower garden with a smile, and like that's the theatrical ending.
Yeah, I do think the upbeat ending is like, I totally understand audiences wanting to see that and not liking this big mass chaos mayhem destruction ending.
It also just points to the medium of film in general, because that's what happened with Into the Woods by Disney, which, like, I love Into the Woods, and the fact that they changed that ending is just like literally pooping all over the point of that story, which is like, what happens after Happily Ever After? Oh, it's not happy. Yeah. And then the Disney version is like, no, it's happy again. And with theater, when everyone dies, they all come out for a curtain call. And like, obviously, like, it's a movie. We know no one died, but like, your stupid little monkey brain is like, they're dead. They're gone.
Right.
But in live theater, they come out for curtain call. You can maybe meet them at the stage door. So it's like things hit differently.
Sure, yeah, that's a good point. It does change it also changes the energy, because a sad play still ends with a curtain call and everybody cheering and applauding for the performers. So you end on a positive. You always walk out of a theater with positive energy, even if it's the saddest play you've ever seen, saddest musical, whatever.
Exactly.
Because that ending is built in. The like you applaud the work that you saw.
Yeah, and like that's why I always think that there are musicals, there are plays that shouldn't have a curtain call. Like there's like, I think contemporary productions of Cabaret that use the 98 version probably shouldn't have a curtain call, because it ends with like the Nazis taking over the club and like
just spoiling all these musicals and shows left and right.
Oh, sorry.
All of our listeners.
Sorry that the musical about Germany in the late 30s.
I didn't know what Cabaret was about. I might have just bought a ticket.
I love Cabaret. I love that musical. But like, yeah, I think there's certain times that it shouldn't end, because like that kind of lends credence to the power of what you're saying, that like No, everyone died sometimes, and not in a good way. Not in the Little Shop of Horrors, nudge, nudge, wink, wink kind of way.
No, I'm with you. I think you make a good point. Obviously that's the end of the movie. You picked this as your favorite. So I already said I was going to recommend it. We know you are going to, but do you have final thoughts?
Even if you just have the theatrical, because I have a DVD of the theatrical cut because that's all we had. It's the old style, plastic clip on the side and the paper cover.
I do enjoy the mayhem of this final ending. I think the other one is a more satisfying movie conclusion because Seymour gets tricked into it in the version of the movie. The
movie takes away a lot of his agency and decision making.
Right. He's just a guy who had a plan and took care of it and then got in over his head. And so him paying the ultimate price and the world being destroyed is a pretty big consequence for that, I think. But do you have any other final lingering thoughts on this?
No, I think I said it all. I said a lot. This is a long one. I hadn't watched this movie in a while, and putting it on, it was like I just watched it yesterday, and I was just performing in it yesterday. That I was like, oh, I still remember all these harmonies and I remember what I'm supposed to be singing in all of these songs, and I remember every line and every beat. And I think it's just, if you're into the Clue and I don't know what else is in that style of movie,
I'm not sure,
heightened. It's very heightened, specific, campy, farcical. I think if you enjoy that, you'll love this.
Yeah, I mean, it's super fun. I as I pointed out, this is not necessarily my cup of tea, but I do think it's very well done, very well made. It's just something that I personally am probably not going to go back to, but excellently made. Not a lot to complain about here. Very, very fun.
The blooper reel is fun on YouTube too. You can, because Frank Oz narrates some of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then there's also moments where you can hear him directing and talking, and sometimes when he gets flustered, he sounds like Fozzie Bear.
Oh yeah,
just sure. Naturally,
it's not far off his regular voice. Yeah.
So there's one point where Rick Moranis is like, "Are you laughing at me?" And you swear to God, you hear Fozzie Bear go, I was not laughing." It's so lovely.
Yeah, no, it's a fun movie. It's really well done, and I was a little hesitant watching it, but I enjoyed myself very much. So I also give it the big thumbs up. So happy birthday! We finally did the movie you've been wanting to do for so long. Thank you all so much for listening to the show and this new Favorites-bruary. We will be back in 2 weeks for my birthday, and we'll be watching a movie that I was terrified until this summer was going to really be ruined for me, but I ended up catching most of it while we did a quarantine and everybody got together with our extended family, and not extended family, our brother and parents, and the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off was on, and I was like, oh no, is this ruined forever? But no, it's fine. There are things in it
fine.
that
I think that's it's fine.
But no, there are little things in it that are a bother, but I was really afraid the whole thing was going to feel tainted and bad. And no, it's fine. It's okay. It's fine. So I'm excited to dig into it. One of my all-time favorites, and 35th anniversary as well. I think this is 86. We just finished. So. No, Little Shop is 86, right?
Yes, Little Shop's 86.
Yeah. So another 35th anniversary. It's Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So that'll be on February 22nd. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't yet, please review the show wherever you get it. If it's not iTunes, send us a screenshot and we read those on the air. Find us on Twitter at Dissect the 80s and Dissecting the 80s on Facebook. And dissectingthe80s.com has all the old episodes and everything you'd ever want to know about the show. And also, don't forget to visit patreon.com/dissectingthe80s to get bonus content. So many episodes to listen to. Die Hard, commentary track for Sleepaway Camp. So many wonderful things. Back to the Future we just did for the Christmas time. Yeah. So go check that out. Patreon.com/dissectingthe80s. Thank you again for listening. I've been Tripp Leno.
I will always be Andrew Leno.
Until next time.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.